So when is the perfect time to do, that project, open the business, start that new hobby, take dance classes, cooking classes? I don't know, write that love story to your wife, your girlfriend. When is that perfect time that we're always trying to wait for something to get started, to get going? When you have that new job? When you quit the job you already have now? When you have kids? When the kids are grown? When the kids are out of the house? Maybe when you're more healthy. Maybe you'll run that marathon when you have more energy. Maybe when you have enough money. The list goes on and on and on about, the excuses or the reasons, I say the excuses in wolves clothing, really, that we give ourselves to not take action on certain things. So for me, that's something that really I fell into that trap. So I'm not saying this to preach. I'm saying this from experience, to honest to goodness truth and experience. I have fell into that trap myself, where I made excuses that I needed more education, I needed more training, I needed more money. When I leave this job, everything that I just proposed to you are the same things that I have told myself that kept me stuck. When really all along I had all of the tools, everything necessary within me at that point in time to get started. There's something that people say, it's more important to have, it's more important the progress rather than perfection. And that's where I got stuck on, trying to wait until everything was perfect. Every time, wait until all the ducks were in a row before I can actually get started to doing whatever that was. But then I thought to myself, and I'm sure you had the same thought, how many times have you looked back and said, well, damn, if I just started a month ago, a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, what would I have today? Even if at that point in time I was only able to give or to do or commit, let's say an hour a day, let's say 3 hours a week, whatever that it may have been, what would we have today had we just started way back when, while we were waiting for the perfect time? And so that's what we're going to talk about today. So today I'm really excited about this. The next guest we have, his name is Bjorn Hendricks. He is my frat brother from Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. Beyond that, just overall great guy. I learned a lot from watching him and his process. From even the times back in UCF, go Knights. Always gotta get that plug in there. And Bjorn has always been that guy who's been very curious, into technology, looking to teach, looking to expand, looking to kind of answer those questions that he had within himself. So by having that natural curiosity, Bjorn has been able to leverage that into actually making a way where for some of us, we may not have seen that way. And so we're going to talk about his experience. As a reminder, for those who are new to us, my name is Brian Christian Jenkins, and it is my mission to change a little bit the face of social media and bring some more positive, inspiring, motivational stories to your timeline. So a lot of people who have come across my path, a lot of people we will be interviewing, are people who have in some way, shape, and form inspired me, motivated me, have done something really very discreetly, but I've caught notice of it, and I want to give them the platform to share their story, to speak out about how they've done what they've done, and to really kind of give us a little bit of insight of what it takes to do that, right? Because oftentimes it's easy to look at the top. We have all the stories. We talk about the Bill Gateses, we talk about the Steve Jobs, we talk about the Steve Bezos, and so forth and so on, the Oprah Winfrey's, right? But they all started somewhere. And the people who I'm going to introduce you to, there's no doubt in my mind that in some way they will be those people. And I don't mean necessarily from a financial standpoint. Now, is money great? Yeah, sure it is. Does having more money give you more tools and to enjoy more of what you want to enjoy? Sure it does. But to a lot of us, it's really not that important, right? So the idea is that we're able to find, you're there, man. So the idea is that we can connect and identify with those ways to get started to live the best lives that we can for ourselves, in whichever way that is for you. My way is not your way. Bjorn's way is not your way. His way is not my way. But the idea is that we share enough stories and we see enough people for where they are right now and what they are doing to make that happen. The idea is that we can hopefully get some inspiration going to make sure that while we're here on this short little trip on the journey called life, that we make the best of our time here. So without any further ado, I'm going to make sure I can get Bjorn on here. a lot of people, that's like a badge of honor. Isn't that right, B? It's a badge of
Hey.
honor to work at Microsoft.
Oh, it definitely is, my man.
Welcome.
How's
How
it
you doing,
going?
sir? You looking good? Looking great?
Thank you, brother. I'm doing great, man. I'm feeling good. How about
Good, good,
yourself?
good.
How's everything up in that side of the world?
I'll be honest with you. I'm a little bit tired. I'm gonna keep it real. I'm a little bit tired. So we're having our bathroom remodeled, and it started last Friday. And so and rather than be there with all the dust on the building, on the noise, and not having a shower and a toilet for like a week, we decided to actually rent a place down south. And so the place is cool, nice views. It's very relaxing, but it's getting adjusted. So it's not our stuff. So our routine, like where our clothes are, where our food is, and so just the cycle's a bit off. So,
I
but I can't
understand.
complain. I can't complain. So I'm just happy to be here
I
with you.
I I actually have uh people working on a roof at this very moment. So I came, I'm downstairs hoping not to hear too much noise. So, I apologize if you do hear anything, if someone comes tapping on the back door or something like that.
We don't need to call the police for you. You're not in danger or anything like that. It's just a
E- Exactly. You're good to
all
go.
right, very good. Very good. So we have already. So we have my wife Mercy on. Hola, Mercy, ¿qué tal? Te quiero. We have my mom as well. So again, so for those of you starting off, if you are, any kind of questions that may come to mind about projects or ideas you want to get into motion, save those for B, because like I said, I really want to tap into a lot of what he has done and still doing to push through quote unquote obstacles. I mentioned before, he has like a literal basketball team of kids, right? I mean, not just saying that like joking. He has a basketball team of kids, right? And that doesn't stop him from keep going forward. That doesn't stop him from still keeping his head on a swivel to identify those opportunities to align with his overall end goal, which he'll share with us a bit more detail. Is going to be financial freedom and being, as available father as possible to his kids, so he's not stuck behind the cubicle just tic-tacking away.
Yeah,
Does that sound about
definitely,
right?
definitely. And it's probably more motivation to
Mm-hmm.
accomplish what I've done. It's not just about it not stopping me. It also motivates me more. So, yeah, definitely look
Good.
forward to talking more about that. Actually, let me put my phone on Do Not Disturb so nothing goes through. I hope it
Yeah,
doesn't
you're
disconnect me, but
kind of a hot shot. So I'm surprised it's not dinging this whole time. And while he's doing that, and, Alicia Fields, how you doing? Long time no see. I mean, so I'm just waiting to know when we're going to get you on this interview, because Alicia actually has a pretty cool project that she was working on at least this past summer, so about 8 months ago. So I'm hoping that she'll come and share that with us at some point in time. So B, I want to just jump into I just want to jump into, for example, so I see you have your Alta Nova shirt on. That's Alta Nova brand. Let's just talk a little bit about what it is that you are actually doing right now between Alta Nova and Seller Kai, and then we'll work backwards to how you got to where you are right now.
that's an interesting approach too, because
Mm-hmm.
one of the things I help a lot of people with is how to set and accomplish goals. And I always say start off with what your end goal is, and then you can work backwards so that you know what you need to do each day, each week, each month, each year in order to accomplish that goal. So yeah, that's a perfect strategy.
Very good.
Um, Alta Nova branding is one of my more recent endeavors, and it's been amazing so far. I have a great team, and I must tell you that that is imperative for any business, is having a good foundation. It's just like building a house, having a good foundation to build a strong foundation to build a house upon. I have a great team to build this business with. And what we do is we're a full service digital branding company. So not just marketing, but branding. We look at marketing as an aspect of branding, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's so much more to it. Marketing is getting your name out, but branding is establishing solid brand that you have advocates for you, that you establish a cult following. Apple, they're
Mm-hmm.
all about their brand, not just market. They barely do marketing in the
Right, right.
traditional sense. They probably do more now, but in the beginning it was more about just making sure their brand is strong so that people trust their brand. So whereas in the beginning they were just focusing on computers, eventually when they said, oh, I'm going to create a digital MP3 player, the iPod, you feel perfectly comfortable purchasing one of them from Apple, even though they make computers. Why? Because you trust the brand, and their
Right.
brand is focused on, whatever we do with beautiful, we do it beautifully and with care, and we take a lot of effort into everything. So you trust that they could also do it in a different device that they make. So Alta Nova branding, it's all about establishing, strengthening your brand, and reaching your business goals through marketing strategy, right?
Hmm.
And we've been doing it for approaching a year now, and it's just been amazing. Some amazing clients, some opportunities that are beyond what I would have ever believed. And it's weird how I got into it, but I think it's weird how I get into a lot of the stuff I get into.
Right, right, right.
I'm a techie by nature, and this whole branding and marketing thing was a derivative of a different business I had, where I was like, hey, tired of using these other people who were doing my marketing for me, because they were only focusing on what they're selling. They were focusing
Right.
on, oh, I sell SEO, search engine optimization, so I'm going to push SEO on you, right? I'm like, but that may not be what I need for my business goals, right?
Right.
So let me tell you my business goals first, and then you could tell me what you could do for me. No one could do that. So, we established it, and it's been a hit.
So real quick, man, that's great, because if you guys remember, we just talked to Mike Felix. He's a digital consultant, a digital marketing coach at MikeFelix.com, and also SFG. And we're talking to Mike about kind of just what you're saying right now, is how the landscape of marketing, branding, presence, all these different things, all these different buzzwords that really aren't buzzwords anymore. Now they're kind of staple within the business world, right? So a lot of people are still taking time to make that shift and understand how it's different. And because it's happening so quickly, I think a lot of people still don't understand what the potential is and how to completely leverage that. So if I understand correctly with Alta Nova branding, your approach is really, from your experience, is one, saying, okay, right, so let me put my mind in my client's mind, as opposed to, let me push this service. Let me say that this is going to work for you because I know that it's going to get me money. You're going to say, well, actually, no. Let's go back. What is your end goal? What's working for you? What tools do you have in your favor? And what's going to take to get there? And so from that approach, you can actually then help unravel what it takes to get them into that landscape, which I think is really
Yeah.
important, because, again, it's, for me, I get lost in it. I get completely lost in it, B. And so to have someone like you to actually say, okay, right, to dump all that on, so B, take the information, you do with it what you need to do, take some money, and get it done. Is that more so how the clients come to you?
Yeah. We had a client the other day. I was doing a discovery call with them, and my first thing is I always ask, what are your goals? Where are you now? Where do you want to be in 12 months, right? And the first thing that this client was focused on is growth. They were experiencing, it's a client in the medical industry, and they were experiencing, say, 40 customers per day, but they had dropped down to like 23 on a regular basis, and they wanted to get back to that 40 and then go beyond it, right? So easily I knew because we're a comprehensive marketing firm and not just focusing on one service, I knew what type of services would be best for them. But then I said to them, do you have the capacity to manage the additional increase in business, right? Because because we're trying to help you establish your brand, and we wouldn't want, because you had one ding already on your Google online reviews for bad service. Now, if we give you because I can get you more customers, that's not a problem. So if I get it for you, can you manage it? Can you support it? Do you have enough infrastructure or your processes in place? And in essence, we kind of talked them out of business for us for a little bit, because they're like, oh shit, man. Oh, excuse me. They're like, oh wow, we gotta hold back. Maybe for now we'll just work on building our website, but we won't do the SEO and all the other stuff, which we know we need for the growth, but we don't have the capacity for it yet. So we're going to focus on building that. And then in Q3, we'll come back to you for the other part. So I could have gotten a sale right there if I just pushed them, but I'm trying to help them build their brand. So yeah, that's been because I've experienced it.
So actually, answer me this question. I kind of have an inclination how you're gonna respond, but why did you make that decision? And I'm gonna give you a hint of where I'm going with this. So we're talking about branding. So you as a business owner, you as your team, you could have taken that quick sale. Why was it more important to you to lose short-term business to potentially set up long-term, sustainable, consistent business?
I mean, you answered it in your question, because that's what it is. I'm looking to be a long-term partner with them, right? And I became immensely more valuable to them just from that one experience during our discovery call, right? And they immediately signed on with us for one thing, with a plan for other things, other services down the line. And, you know, for me, it was just like, hey, you know, I want, when as a business owner, when I was looking for someone to help me with my brand, you know, I wanted someone that was ethical and that I could trust and, you know, I could be a long-term partner with. So I'm going to do the same for my clients. And,
Right. Yeah.
you know, it honestly, it was just like, it's just something that I felt was the right choice for them. And, you know, it'll lead to much more business down the line. And one thing, honestly, when I do discovery calls, my entire team, when we do discovery calls, clients get a little bit shocked when they see that we're vetting them as much as they're vetting us,
Right.
right?
Right. Right.
Because we're not going to take a fight that we don't think we can win, right?
Sure.
I'm not just going to sell you services just for the hell of selling services if I don't think I can make you successful, which in turn makes me successful as well, right?
Right.
So this client, great opportunity on both sides, you know, mutually beneficial partnership. So of course I want to win their business and establish a partnership with them in the long run.
Yeah, but honestly, what I was actually really getting to is I think that was kind of you establishing, creating, actually developing your brand. That sense of
Yeah,
integrity, that sense of openness and honesty. Although it may not be directly, you know, how you say when you're developing their presence from an online standpoint, that would stick out to me. So if I got that sense, I feel as if, okay, wow, this is really odd. Like I would actually be shocked that you would actually you'd actually say, actually, not right now, come back later. I might be a little bit annoyed, but for sure, I would have been impressed. I would have been impressed, and that was stuck in my mind. And then the next time when I needed business, I'd say, right, integrity, that's the brand for integrity. That's the guy I want to go to because I know they're going to tell it to me straight. They're not going to try to, you know, nickel and dime. They're not going to sell me some BS that I don't need, you know. So I think on the
yeah,
greater point is another way to you know, build that brand and be that guy of honesty and integrity, or that brand as a company, right? So
definitely.
that's Alpha Nova. If we can then switch gears and go into, this is where actually that's kind of fell into to Bjorn. Actually, it's funny because we're on different parts of the world, just across the Atlantic Ocean, and
Yeah.
we were both dabbling in doing do e-commerce and selling stuff on Amazon, doing Amazon FBA. Well, as we started talking a bit more, I found out that actually Bjorn was actually doing a supply chain for e-commerce called Seller Kai. That's SELLERKAI.com, sellerkai.com. And and the interesting thing about that, I'm gonna let B take, you know, take the reins and explain a bit more about what the company does. But I want to share with you guys my experience with Seller Kai before I actually knew Bjorn was the man behind the scenes. So I was actually rushing to get a product my first product into the marketplace for Q4, fourth quarter, into Amazon. My first time doing it, stressed out, didn't know what was going on. I did, you know, invest in one of those courses, so it was all laid out for me how to do, you know, X, Y, and Z. But even though you have the course laid out, I mean, once you're doing it live and you're under that time crunch before, you know, Amazon may cut that off and before you get your product onto that marketplace, it's a lot of stress. Well,
Yeah.
you know, searching for different kind of, you know, resources, and came across a company, which happened to be Beyond's company, Seller Kai, that does on-site evaluations. And what that means, if you don't know, I'm sorry, I'm going to bore you if you're not really into this world, but in the e-com world, for those who are selling anything online, I'll source my products out of China. And so I'm not in China. I'm in the Canary Islands. So to get that product from China to me would take at least 3 weeks, at least. And that would be on the miracle quick end, right? If I paid more, I may get it in 3 weeks. Well, his company actually has their partnerships over there that can send my product locally in China, get there within a day or two. We had a Skype call with a team, one of the team members, fantastic guy, and we were able to go through that product, test it out, test the durability. I mean, the guy's like, let's say, so what it was is a phone case. The guy took a knife out and was scratching the phone case to say, yeah, this is a really good, you know, screen protector. He took another screen protector, said, this is not so good. He's bending it. He's, you know, he's making sure it actually smells nice. I know it sounds funny, but sometimes you get products from China that can have kind of a chemical smell, especially if it's plasticky. And my case was actually a polyurethane. So to be able to do that within 2 days, to cut that time down, it gave me the ability to make a quicker decision, get my product into Amazon before the competition got too fierce, and get my product selling. So I can definitely recommend, and this is not really, I guess it is kind of a free plug for you, but just because it's my experience, I would have done it anyway. So, you know, just tell us a bit more about the importance of Seller Kai and actually how you got into that business.
Ooh, that's a long story too, right? It's a series of events that just, you know, kept tumbling and snowballing and growing. So you and I actually started talking about this before you knew about Solar Kai as well. Before I think you even took the final leap to evaluate your product. And I think you had just mentioned that, hey, you know, I've just recently got into selling FBA, and, you know, I think it seems like a really good
Right.
business model, and you just wanted to see what I thought about it. I was like, funny you asked. I've been doing that for the last like year or so too.
Yeah,
And,
I don't
you
know,
know,
actually, that's a good point. I'm sorry I forgot that, because actually I thought to go to Bjorn, because like he said, he's always been a techie. So I knew that from back in the UCF days. He had a blog back in the day, Techno Babble.
techno babble.
And I always know him to be as a tech guy. So before I went any further, you know, I said, let me just run this by him real quick. And that's just how we got started. Thanks for reminding me.
Yeah. And, you know, so before Silikai really became a thing, I was focused on my own business, my own private labeling business. I'll tell you how I got into that in a second as well. But as I was doing it, I realized that you have to lay out the process of everything that you're doing, right? You got to really write it out. You have to experience it before you can start having people working for you. And I'll talk about that as well in a moment. And when I laid out the process, the one part of the process that was the most challenging for everyone, including myself, was dealing with China, right? Because I was sourcing products from China, and I was like, oh, they're like all the way over there, and like I don't know if I could trust this person, and that, you know, and I did. I mean, I started on my own first, but then I also did what you did, which is I recommend everybody to take the leap. You bought a course, right? Because time is money, man. And if I could learn something from some people go into buying a course and think that's like the blueprint to millions. No, it's the base that gives you, you know, you can avoid some of the pitfalls that they made first, right? But then you got to do it yourself. You have to hustle on your own after that, right? So the part of process that really annoyed me was that whole supply chain management, dealing with China, getting it shipped, getting it inspected, you know, everything before it came to the US, where I was more familiar.
I'm sorry, just real quick. So if you guys don't know, and it goes for those of you who have experience, it's overwhelming. The whole process is overwhelming, from the freight forwarding to the inspections, all this stuff. It's completely overwhelming. It's definitely worth it, you know, to study to figure out how to do that. So to have someone who can help you with that whole process, hands down, do it.
Yeah, definitely. And that's what I was looking for. So I was like, I need to, you know, I can't, I don't know who to trust over there. I don't know what to do. So I'm going to figure it out myself. So I started with a partner who you've met, my operations manager out there, at our headquarters in China, in Ningbo. And he had a separate side business that he was doing, that's similar to it. So I invested in his business. And that first investment led into more and more, right? It was just something to help me. I had a business. I realized that this was an important part of the business. I wanted to know more about it, so I invested in it. And then it was helping my primary business. I had a couple other people, you know, colleagues that were in the same industry, and they wanted to get the same type of help I was getting. So I, you know, sold the service to them. And then I realized, oh, more people want this. I was like, you know what? In everything I do, I try to sell the shovel to the gold diggers instead of being the gold digger, right? It's like being a platform instead of being an app, right? Facebook is a platform. And one of the biggest things that Facebook did a few years back that really solidified their path going into the future, you know, and not going the way of like MySpace or some other social network, is when they became a platform and launched their open graph API, which is where everyone goes to other sites and sign up with your Facebook account, right? Once you do that, you're locked in, because now if you want to cancel Facebook, you're going to cancel your access to all these other sites that you have, right? So Facebook became the platform that everyone worked on. And that's what I try to do in any business that I'm doing, is be the platform that others are going to need to use for them to be successful, because you become an intricate part of their process, their business, and you know that establishes a long-time relationship again. All right, so that was the start.
About that, and then correct me if I'm wrong though, is you know, obviously, you know, being in the supply chain, not even for Facebook, for e-commerce. I don't want to say necessarily e-commerce really, because anyone who wants to connect, you know, get a better idea of what their products are from afar, feel that comfort, someone that speaks literally and figuratively their language, they can do that. So if you're doing a private label thing and you don't have any interest of doing, Amazon FBA, you're not trying to do Shopify, maybe you have a store here. Like I want to open a store in the Canary Islands, I want to bring a new product here. I'm going to sell it in a brick and mortar place, right? I can still use Seller Kai or not.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we definitely focus on and specialize in Amazon FBA sellers because, there's all these little rules around it. So we learned that, especially given my background, and then I trained some of my staff to be able to answer those high level questions that people would not know. They wouldn't even know to ask those questions. But apart from that, just general, supply chain management for whatever e-commerce or any type of retail that you're doing. If you're sourcing a product from China, we got you. It's okay. We have our local presence out there.
What I want to do is because, again, like for me, so if I use my same situation, like I've kind of backed off Amazon for the moment right now, right? And I'm not doing a brick and mortar store, but if I use that same idea and I want to get those phone cases here, you guys can still do my inspections. I can still send my stuff to you guys. I can still do, inspect it myself, do it via Skype or a video call. I can still have you guys consolidate my samples for me and send them to me, for example, if I want to see those all together. There's still a lot more to that. You guys are the specialties for sure of Facebook FBA, Jesus. Amazon FBA. Which it does help as well because those rules do tend to change and you don't really know when they change. And so again, if you can go to a source, you can say, actually, what you think you could have done before, today it's different, right? So you guys are definitely a much broader service offering. Again, like you said, if you're doing anything in China, Seller Kai is your company. Is your one-stop shop.
Definitely one-stop supply chain shop. And, eventually I bought out all operations, purchased some warehousing out there, expanded our staff with for our inspectors to be across the entire country, and just really we started to expand to more services within the U.S. right, and then I realized I want to specialize on what I'm doing first, right? And another goal of mine in any business I start is to establish the processes so that it could be autonomous from me, so that I can pull away at times, and then I can focus on starting something else, because that's one thing I learned is you have to have multiple streams of revenue. It's important.
Right.
If I was only focused on real estate back in the day and then the market crashed, what do I do if I don't have something else coming in?
Right.
So,
it's actually, before we go, I'm trying to decide real quickly if I want to go to that thread now, because it's a good segue into, the importance of diversification as you're talking about what you're doing. But I'm going to hold on to that because I think that we have the ability to come back where we left off. I want to go back to the question everyone wants to know. Why would you leave Microsoft, man? Well, I mean, you had it made. You were traveling around. You had a bit of a autonomy to some degree there. You're the big guy on campus in that market. People want some Bjorn, and you're with the safe international company. So, what crazy information would come over you to say, I'm going to give up this security with this international brand company to go figure it out for my own?
Yeah. Wow, it was a loaded question though, right? Like, I was talking to somebody right before. I was talking to someone right before this, and they said, "Oh, you're gonna do an interview? Did you prepare?" I was like, "There's nothing to prepare for. I'm just speaking about my life." So, I didn't even think about it, how I'm gonna really word this. But the truth of the matter is, I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit. It's not the first company I've started, or second, or third, or fourth, or fifth, or sixth, and. But then while I was with Microsoft, which is one of the best places to work, I must say, I mean, the benefits are amazing. Everything is amazing. But I felt that I was losing some of my entrepreneurial spirit because I had flexibility, I had power, I had, authority, seniority, etc. But I felt that I was putting so much time into their success. And that wasn't necessarily my success. You know what I mean? And you have to define what your success is, right? And like you mentioned, I have a lot of kids, and part of my success is being able to get a last minute notice saying, "Oh, they're gonna have a party, a daddy and son party tomorrow or 2 days from now." Wow, what? Why you didn't tell me already? I forgot. Well, okay, no worry, I'm gonna be there. as opposed
Right.
to, well, I'm sorry, daddy's traveling this week and, I can't be there. I can't get out of it because they're not going to
Right.
let me say, hey, Mr. Client, I got to go and I got to fly back. So that freedom, that flexibility was more important. People ask me now, like, one of my best friends, I had a conversation with him before. He was like, am I making more money now than when I was with Microsoft? I mean, a lot, Microsoft was very, they compensated me well in many ways.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, in terms of cash on hand, probably not. But that's because I actually earn more, but every cent of it goes back into the business to keep growing the
Or
business.
it's like the time that you're putting into it now. So let's say, for example, if you're putting in 40 hours now earning X, before you're putting in maybe 60 hours earning X. So if you look at it, in that way, the time you're putting into for to earn that $1, is actually less time, but more valuable too, like you said. Is actually having that time with your kids, to be able to do that. So I don't really think there's a price tag on that.
Exactly. And the truth is, I mean, one of the things, growing up, I wasn't taught financial literacy. I had to learn that, right? And looking at overall value compared to income is something that people tend to, not do well. You look at the richest man in the world, Jeff Bezos. If you go in his bank account, maybe he got a couple $1 million in there, but he's worth $150 billion, right? But that's because he hasn't liquidated his assets, but he can when he wants to. So yeah, if I liquidated my assets, I'm making way more than when I was at Microsoft. But I'm not focused on that. I'm focused on building more and more assets so that every cent that I have is earning more money for me. And then I'm able to have a little bit more freedom with things to do, to do things with my family. But it's not about the money; it's about the freedom overall.
Absolutely. Now, down that thread, what I want to get into now is because this is where I kind of started off once we got you on here, is talking about the perfect time, because we know we do this. I don't know if you've done this because you're a freaking machine. I don't think that thought has crossed your mind, but because when you want something, you put it into action, however which way you got to do that, right? But I was sharing, like there was a time when for a span of many years where I got comfortable with these reasons or these excuses that I covered up as reasons to justify why I wasn't moving or why I wasn't taking action, right? So if you don't mind being a bit vulnerable, if there was a vulnerable side, at that point in time when you had the secure job with Microsoft, I want to say at that time you only had 5 kids. Your twins came after, or they came before you decided to?
I only had 2 at that time.
Okay. So when you decided to leave, what were those feelings going through? Because this is where I want to connect with people, because a lot of people, they say, well, now that I have kids, my decision making is a bit different. I'm not going to take the risk I would have if I didn't have kids. And all these things play into people's minds. And really, I can't even say that is an excuse, because now you're playing someone else's livelihood, right? So it's not like it's just me as a single guy when I'm not married. But still, there's less responsibility I have to worry about. It's just me and my wife, right? So we can still be a bit more risky in our endeavors, where you have, your partner, and you have, your kids as well. So what was that process like? And were you playing games with yourself? Is this a good idea? Should I do it? What's going to happen if this doesn't happen? Or did you never even consider, not that you didn't consider the consequences, but it made the consequences didn't have so much weight in your decision-making process? So what was that like, having a family, knowing you got to, make it happen, and then take such a risk?
Okay, so first let me correct myself. When I first thought about, like, hey, do I want to continue doing this? I think I only had 2 at the time. The twins did come while I was at Microsoft, so they were young.
Okay.
So the time I actually left, all 7 were there, and so I have that's what I got, like a Brady bunch of kids right now. So it's all 7 together, and one of the first things I always think about is one of my favorite quotes or sayings is, too often we either act without thinking, or we spend too much time thinking without acting, right? And I really wanted, you have to be cognizant of that. You have to say, what am I doing right now? Why am I hesitating? Like, life is too short. It's like, another quote that I love is that you got to stop living the same year again and again and calling that life, because that's not life.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you got to you have to keep evolving, keep doing different things to experience these years that you have on Earth. So for me, it was like, all right, I got to make this happen. And in the past, I used to have businesses that I started, but I would keep my 9 to 5 job at the same
Mm-hmm.
time because like, I got kids, I don't want to,
Mm-hmm.
I got to keep that security. But I think what ended up really hitting me back in 2009, the company I was working for, I wasn't at Microsoft then. The company I was working for they let the whole team go, right? And it was like out of
Okay.
nowhere, really.
Yeah.
And I realized that 9 to 5 is not security. People think
Mm-hmm.
it is because they're like, oh, I'm secure because I'm getting that paycheck
Right.
every month. It's not security. You know what I mean? So, and I don't fault anyone if you choose that's your path. You want to just continue working in that environment, working for someone. That's fine too because you can become a specialist in what you do. But for me, it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't the security that I wanted. So
Mm-hmm.
that was when it really hit me that I got to take the leap completely. I have
Mm-hmm.
to cut things off and then just go all in on my own projects. So I set my goal, right? This was years ago before I actually made
Mm-hmm.
it happen. I set the goal and said, I'm going to do this no later than this year. So then I
Mm-hmm.
started working backwards and saying, okay, what does
Right.
it take for me to do each year? What do I have to do each year in order to accomplish it? People talk about having a savings of 6 months or so in case of a disaster or something. I did like a year of savings, right?
Right.
I'm not saying you have to do it, but it does help because truthfully, I also took out, people put in their 401k, for example. I had some stock, I had this, I had that. And I was like, I'm cashing it out because those things are not going to be worth as much to me when I retire
Mm-hmm.
that as it would be if I use that cash right now to build something that'd be worth way more when I retire.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I just planned for those years leading up to it. And then I just made it happen. It's literally,
Mm-hmm.
I woke up, I believe strongly in the universe telling you things. And, there were signs that just came up and it was just like, all right, we make that move now. But I had planned. So I'm not just, going off the cuff either. I
Mm-hmm.
had a plan and then I executed the plan and the universe made me feel like it was the right timing. And,
All right, all right, all right,
that's what led
all right,
to it.
all right. I appreciate that. So what I picked up on, and I don't know if you guys picked up on that as well. It's going to lead into my next question, but I want to acknowledge something. And again, I probably am going to answer the question. I'm sure I know the answer to the question.
Mm,
But I want to say that belief in yourself and that the fact that you can do it played a huge part because what I heard is someone again would leave like that nest egg, those stocks, that 401k as a back burner option, as a security net, just in case. He said, actually, no, actually, because I'm going this way, there really is no hesitation. And this money is more valuable to me now, to make things happen versus sitting there for a rainy day, which again, I think is
mm-hmm.
amazing because a lot of us may get stuck in that where we say, okay, well, I don't know, I'm going to keep the savings here. I'm going to keep the money liquid or whatever it might be and not actually get it done where you said, no, it's going to happen. There is no option. It's going to happen. And I think,
Yeah.
and again, I want to know what your thoughts are about that. When did you know that, anything that you said or that you were going to do was it? Or when did you have the belief in yourself? Or when did you know you had enough tools ready right now to do that? Because all these projects we're talking about are new things. Now, yes, you were always involved in technology, but still, open up an e-commerce supply chain, you kind of had to learn that on the go, right?
Yeah.
Alta
Oh, yeah.
branding, that's something you learned on the go. So
Oh, yeah.
how can someone maybe develop or recognize that one, they have everything they need to get started today? Not saying that you'll have instant success right now, but like you said, you started a year ago, right? To make those
Mm-hmm.
steps to get there to go happen, and then that belief to know that it can happen. So did that play a part, that self-belief? And how can someone build that or recognize that I have or we have enough to get started?
Okay, so we're gonna do this like it's a reality show because the roofers just knocked on the door. So let me answer them. I'm gonna tell
All
you. I'm
right.
gonna definitely answer you right back because we're coming in live right now. Hey, how you doing? Oh, okay, perfect. Thank you. All right, I'm inside. I'm on the call if you need me. If anything. Awesome. Thank you. All right.
See, I'll be honest with you. He ain't talking to nobody. There's no one there. He's just trying to present he got stuff going on.
Whatever. Um. So. All right. So taking that leap, knowing, what, for me, it was, well, these are I remember I said I like to learn the business first, right? And I experience the processes first and document the process and see how I can improve it. And then you got to just jump right in. that hesitation is what holds, it holds people back way too much. And you can't be afraid to fail, right? And this is part of why it's important to have multiple businesses, right? Multiple streams of revenue, right? Because if sometimes I failed a lot, people see, people don't see the hundreds of other businesses I started, the things that went up and down, and then all they see is the last thing that happened, because that was the success. And then they're like, oh, wow, how'd you become this overnight success? Yeah, 20 years of working, overnight success. You know what I mean? It's how it's viewed. But, I would have never seen myself in supply chain management. I didn't even know anything about that. Like, I don't know where that came from. I wouldn't have seen myself in marketing, really. I grew up with people saying, oh, you're an extrovert and you'd be a good salesperson. I used to be like, no, I hate sales. Because to me, sales was like pushing someone to buy something. But that's not sales. You sell yourself every day, right? If you're going for a job to someone and you're going to an interview, you're selling yourself, right? And not being afraid to sell yourself is what's important. And I think that I'm good at that, not being afraid to step up when the time comes. And that's what helped me to be able to take that leap. It's just not being afraid to step up, not being afraid to fail. I don't look at failure as a bad thing. I look at it as a learning experience. So I never fail. I either win or I learn. Right. I think Nelson Mandela said that probably. I've heard that from somewhere, but that's something I truly believe. I either win or I learn. And that's how I take every experience.
No, that's great, man. I appreciate that. And so for those again who are watching on the replay, just keep that in mind. And again, I promise you, to put myself out there, I fell into that same trap where I wasn't taking that approach to it. It wasn't either I win or I learn. I was thinking it was a win or a loss. And so when I had those failures, I took that as a value of my performance, my capabilities going forward. And so when I kept testing the waters and kept kind of reaching barriers, that slowly chipped away at my belief system and what I could do going forward, which almost kept me stuck. Felt stuck. Again, I wasn't stuck. I felt stuck because it was all in here, right? And so again, just pay attention to what Bjorn's saying. It really is. Now it's that simple. Again, we obsess with the final product. For example, we can obsess with Oprah all day long. Someone go read Oprah's book, and you see everything she had to go through to get there. Someone read Nelson Mandela's book. They see him, before he passed away, he was the president. He was a uniter. That man went through some things, right? Like, it just didn't happen overnight. But we obsessed with the final product without understanding all the iterations it took to actually get there from a personal standpoint and a professional standpoint. So, B, walk us through now, like you say, diversification, because you said, you start off in real estate. Real estate kind of didn't work out at that point in time. And I imagine that you weren't as diverse as you are now. So what is why do you feel, it's obvious why it's important to diversify, but what about someone who thinks that they say, okay, right, well, I know you're saying to diversify my interests, my revenue streams, but isn't that spreading myself too thin? Isn't that kind of putting my attention on, am I doing too many things, but not doing too many things well or good enough, as opposed to doing one thing really well? So help kind of unravel that thought process.
So you have to remember that doing one thing really well makes you a specialist, right? And it makes you fall into a specific quadrant. If you've ever heard, one of my favorite books is Expert Secrets by Russell Brunson. It's not Richard Branson. People think I mean that, who I say. Russell Brunson, the founder of ClickFunnels, amazing company. In that book, he wrote a concept that was based off of something from Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad book. A lot of people know that one more. And in it, he's talking about the 4 quadrants of income. I may have the terminology a little bit wrong. On one quadrant, you're an employee. Most people fall into this category, right? Then the trick is to move to the quadrant right below that, which is self-employed, right? A lot of people want to do that. But when they get there, too many people stay in this self-employed. This is where you're still working those same hours and you're just killing yourself, and but at least you're doing it for yourself, right? And that's cool. It may be better than employed, but sometimes it may not be, right? The key is to progress beyond that to the next quadrant up here, which is business owner. So for what I do, after I go into self-employed to test out something and say, hey, the supply chain thing is interesting. Let me see how it works. Let me build the processes and whatnot. I'm in a self-employed. I'm working for myself. I'm doing it for myself. I understand it. I lay down the processes. Now I'm going to hire people to work those processes for me. So now I go into the business owner, because now I get to pull back from the business, and it becomes a little bit autonomous for me, and I'm earning money even if I'm not there, which is what most people.
Take it for money, but certainly if you're going to have to hire someone, that's going to be more of a cost. So really, you're going to lose money from that business, won't you?
No, not at all. And that's a misunderstanding. Like, people feel that if you're going to hire more people, then if you're working for yourself and you could earn $1,000, right, in whatever period of time, how could you earn more? Well, you got to work more hours, right? Well, a smarter way is to have 5 people working those 1,000, however many hours plus more, because they could work more. And you got to pay them a little bit. Now you're earning 5 times as much, right? So, people are always afraid to spend money because they feel like they want to hold on to the little money that they have. But I don't do anything. I don't even buy things now that I can't write off in a business. Like, I can't, it has to be something that's going to earn me money. I don't even buy like a new car anymore. Like, I remember back in the day I had my sports car and everything. I don't believe in that. To me, it's like, listen, I got a car that's paid off. I'm good. You know what I mean? My son's like, why don't you buy this? Why don't you buy that? I'm like, no, that's all right. No problem. I'm good.
Job.
You know what I mean? So when you're in that top quadrant, business owner, you have processes under you. You have people working under you. You can scale your business to levels that you could not possibly do on your own. But this has to be your goal. Maybe your goal is to just work by yourself, and you don't want, you want to be a hermit. You want to work from home. You want to do whatever. But if you want to grow a huge empire, a business, it has to become a business, and you have to have people working for you. You have processes under you, and you manage them, and you can focus on more strategy of how to grow the business rather than the day-to-day aspects of it, right? And the next step is then investor, right? So employee, self-employed, business owner, then it becomes investor, where you're able to then invest in other businesses. You don't even need to start it up and have the processes put into place, right? So, people have to remember that path and figure out where they want to be in the path. Because if you're comfortable with being an employee, then fine. That'll be your happiness. You've identified your happiness and you achieve it. But if you want to get to the business owner level, you have to remember that path, figure out what it takes to get there, and set your goal and then execute on reaching that goal.
Cool, thanks for that, man. And actually, just to do, again, a bit of recap of what Bjorn just said, and I think it's so important, is you have to be able to identify, as individuals, we have to identify what it is that we're actually looking for. So maybe you really just want to be, have X amount of income. You're happy to be that frontline person to your customers, to your clients. You like that touch, right? And that's okay. However, if you like that touch and you want more revenue for whatever reason, because you want to buy that boat, you want to take a more exotic vacation, or you want more time with your kids, whatever it might be, then I think at that point in time, a choice has to be made. What is going to be more important to you at that point in time? Having that touch with your employees, or having more time with your children. So if maybe you back that off, maybe hire someone to do that work for you. And again, this is probably going to be like, again, I think, we're going to use this more as B's case. So for example, for B, it was more important for him, I'll take, quote unquote, a hit, if you thought of it that way, to hire someone to do that job for me, that leaves me freed up to be with my kids. But he doesn't see it that way. It's not that way when you're scaling up the right way. When you put people in there, actually there's more people to do more of that job, so more money will come in. Now, again, this is the ideal, talking about a scenario. That doesn't just happen, literally like this. You put money in, money comes back. It could go up and down, right? But the idea is that you're building this and creating this for yourself. Also, going back to some of the diversification. So as you're earning, let's just say, $5,000 from this, project, this venture, another $5,000 for this venture, another $5,000 for this venture. You have, let's say, 10 ventures bringing in $5,000, dollars a month, for example. Well, hell, if half of those go out, for whatever reason, are all tied to the same business, you still have other ventures that are bringing in money. So it's more important, again, to take that step, look at exactly what it is that you want. What is going to make you tick? Is it the touch with the employees? Is it more family time? Is it more vacation time? Is it more hobby time? Whatever it is, just time for yourself, and then you can build it from there. So I appreciate you recognizing that and actually pointing that it depends on what we want. Because I think sometimes we get stuck on, well, I want to do what he's doing. well, maybe what he's doing is not your goal, right? You know, and so the idea is that we stop being obsessed with the life and the results of other people. It's fine, admire it, recognize it, but then how can you customize that to what it is that, you know, how you want to live your life, as I think, to me, the takeaway.
Exactly. You hit it on the nose, man.
Cool. So B, real quick, before we kind of wrap up here, before we wrap up, so I know you got your people at your door. They're working the roof, and you have to kind of be the foreman now, right? So
yeah, maybe I'll take you on a tour out there. You see what's going on too.
Yeah. I'm gonna put my mom under some pressure right now. I don't know if she's watching now because she's such a trooper. She'll probably just set her laptop up and just walk away and do other things because she can't sit still. So I'd have a hard time believing that she's actually sat here for like the past 45 minutes. Now my mom, she's retired, right? Doesn't need to work. You know, she's in Clearwater, Florida. And, she's good. But B, my mom has this incredible crafty talent. You know, she has this ability to just pick up things, make stuff that people want. It's attractive. And I keep encouraging her. I said, Mom, I said, you have this free time now. You want to do these hobbies. Just do it. You know, make it a business. You know, you don't have to work like you did before, when you were with the Social Security. You can just work. And her concern is, well, my fear is if I start doing this as a business, then I'll take the fun away of it. Because now if it's a business, I'm no longer enjoying doing that side of it. And so now, although I can understand that and respect that, right? I sometimes think that people don't understand that the power they have to really customize the business how they want. If my mom chose to work really one day, open her business one day only on Wednesdays, for example, that's her choice. If she wants the other 6 days where she's untouchable from clients, that's her choice. So again, I'm kind of going back to the reasons why we don't do things. And again, from my mother's standpoint, it's not that she has to do it, right? I mean, the money thing is not really a factor. It's the more so of, putting her work out there and having something to contribute to other people. So what advice do you give my mama to do the whole craft business, to get her stop making excuses and start taking some action?
Oh, wow. That is a very good question. And I honestly, I believe that you kind of answered the way I'm going to answer it too already, because for me, it's about, well, what are your goals, right? And if your goals are, listen, I just like, making these products and, I really don't want to earn money from it. Maybe make it into a nonprofit and, do something that way. You can help because your goal is you want to help more people. You want to supply these products to more people. So then take the approach of a nonprofit, right? The thing is that, it's all about what are your goals, right? And what makes you happy. And you don't have to do these, of course, because if you feel like, well, I don't have any need for that at all. But, there's definitely a demand for the product that you're making. Then, why not supply that demand to people? Or get Brian to run your business for you, and you could just, be happy and making it, and it's fun, and Brian could handle all the business side of it because he's a savvy businessman. I mean, but it boils down to what your goals are, and you could always find a way to reach those goals. And it's not just one path, it's multiple paths. So identify the goal, work backwards, and come up with one or more solutions, and then choose your direction.
Yeah, no, actually, I do like that. Probably will resonate with you, Mom. So we're on a call this weekend to kind of fine tune that a little bit, because actually what B said is actually very true, which actually could be something for you. And I'm saying it's because although my mother is living La Vida Loca, where she's living a good life, she deserved it. She worked hard, raised, 8 kids. So, actually, there 6 kids at one time. So, she's close. She's right there with you.
I feel your pain.
She loves to give back. She loves to help. She likes to make people happy, and she can do that. So that's something to think about, Mom. Maybe do a little nonprofit. We're actually, if it's not about the money, you enjoy doing it. You love making people happy. Maybe there's people who've lost homes in their fires, and they need new decoration. They want something cool and different, Then you offer it to them, for example, or someone who lost their home in a hurricane like we did, or like in the flood, or whatever it may be. So that could be a little bit of that connecting, your talents that you have and actually putting those into practice to helping people, which is also a passion that you have as well. So like that. BC, thanks. Alta Nova branding, baby.
Alta Nova, we come up with solutions for you.
All right, cool. So we talked about Alta Nova branding. You said you guys have a Facebook page, I believe. Is that correct?
Alta Nova? Yeah. So you get Alta Nova branding. You can find us on Facebook. Seller Kai is on Facebook as Seller Kai World. That's SellerKai World. Of course, you have solarkai.com, you have altanovabranding.com. But yeah, you know, you reach out to us in any of those platforms, and we could definitely help in whatever your goals are to make you achieve them.
Fantastic, fantastic. And are any of the projects that you want to release, is anything else you're working on that you're at liberty to share this at this point in time?
Oh yeah. You know what's funny? I always have like, I don't write business plans as much as I used to, right? I have tons of business plans. If you saw like back in the days, because I would just write out things that I think could work. Back then, you needed a business plan because it was all about going the traditional route to a bank and they want to see this full 10-year business plan, blah, blah, blah. That's not how stuff works nowadays. Now I use a business model canvas, which is a one-pager, which identifies my audience, identifies, you know, the model of the business. And it's just like getting that concept down. And sometimes, you know, I was speaking to a friend or whatever, and they're like, oh, don't tell people what that business idea is. I'm like, why? I don't care, because you're not going to execute it the way I'm going to execute it.
Exactly.
I guarantee that. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So I don't, unless I have a product that I created and I'm going to patent, then yeah, I keep that secret or whatever. But
Right.
a service, like, listen, go ahead. If you feel
Right.
you could do it, no, you know, more power to you. But I know I could do it in a different way. Right?
You know,
and,
actually, just real quick, before I drag this point out, because I think it's really great what you just said. And if your idea get out there and people are trying to replicate your idea, one, remember what Bjorn just said, that no one can do it the way you do it. And if someone does have to do it a bit better, if you do have that fighter mentality like B has, that's actually going to push your sort of offering better. So if they're going to push you to be better, you're going to have a more superior product in the long run. Not only that, having that competition, that means that that service is not going to get more attention, right? So before computers and cell phones were a thing, you know, people really didn't know how to use them. But now when people are saying, well, you can use your cell phone for this and for that, now it became more relevant. So competition, don't be afraid of it, you know. Share your idea and have the confidence in yourself and your ability to build that product. And if they push you, they challenge you, embrace that and up your own game.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely, and it helps validate your idea too, because if someone else is trying to steal it and they're having some success, then you know that you're on the right path. So you know, keep pushing and make it happen. And one of the things I'm doing right now could end up being competition to like Amazon in terms of platform to sell products on.
Man,
and sure, I tell anyone,
go big.
hey, you know, I think big, man. You know, I got to. And most people would be like, oh, that's like you can't take on Amazon. Yeah, you can't take on MySpace. You
Right.
can't take on Lycos and Alta Vista. I don't even know who remembers those, but that was before Google came out. I mean, there's tons of things you can't take on, and then someone takes it on and does it even better. You can't take on Walmart, but yet Amazon's now the most successful company in the world. So trust me, I don't care. I'll take on whatever I can, and you start big. You start with a goal, and then you start growing. You know, and let's see what happens. Hit me up in another year. I'll tell you where we are with that one.
Thanks, man. Great having you with us today. Thanks for sharing your experience again from the standpoint of, you know, where you started off. You know, you touched on not only with your time with Microsoft, but before Microsoft, that process that you had to go through to make that plan to leave a secure job while you actually had kids as responsibilities, which again, I think resonates with a lot of people. So whether you have kids or not, just reflect within yourself, you know, what it is that you are using as your reason to not go forward with whatever that is, right? And so again, in B's situation, he planned a year out, right? He didn't just save, like, for example, in his particular case, he didn't save just 6 months of a backup plan. He had 12 months just in case. And that 12 months might seem a bit extreme, but that extra 6-month window gave him the freedom and the tranquility to not make rash decisions, because once we're under pressure and we feel that wall coming, we start doing some things where we probably don't want to do, right? So whatever that is for you, align yourself with that goal. And again, it doesn't have to be about money. It doesn't have to be about business. It's just really about, you know, as Dee said, we're here for a short amount of time. How can we make the most of that time while we're here in whichever way that is? So my mom, she's opened a nonprofit organization. She's doing arts and crafts for people who lost their homes, who need a bit of a pick-me-up. And that's that. So before we get off here, I just want to let you guys know that this Monday, February 25th, it's going to be 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time or 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time or 6:30 Canary London time. We are with the self-proclaimed The Couple of Canvas, Eric Range and Tamika Range, the power couple. You guys are not going to miss this. We're talking about relationships, family, business, and weed, all in one conversation. So again, that's going to be this Monday, February 25th, 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time or 6:30 p.m. Canary London time. B, thank you so much. Proud of you, man. I've been watching you. We should have to talk about this. This little opportunity. You put that seed in there. We got to start talking about this.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Thank you for having me, man. It's a pleasure talking to you as always. I'm looking forward to you coming back to China with me. So, let's make it happen. And
Man, last time I went to China with you, I was stuck in the bed for about 3 days with the stomach bug. I'm good. I don't do you in China anymore. I'll go by myself. I'm not doing China with you anymore.
Yeah, I'll take it easy on you next time, man.
All right, bro. Have a great day. Take care of yourself.
Thanks, man. You too. Take care.